I think for those of us in the West, where we live in this country, where being a Christian does not require any sort of real persecution. Okay. Maybe some people are mean to you. Maybe some people online, say some mean things to you. I certainly experienced that a lot. And in my case, I actually have had a little light and momentary afflictions, persecution, where the mean things digitally that people have been saying to me have kind of bled out into my life, where I've had my business, my actual business attacked. My husband and I have had a lot of financial hardships because of religious persecution. Now, that doesn't happen very often, but it has happened to me. But I tell you what, I still don't consider it to be any persecution at all. I've never been beaten up. I've never been physically persecuted to my body for my faith. I have never been imprisoned. So I consider these to be light and momentary afflictions. So most of us in this country, in the West, being a Christian does not mean that you are not going to experience persecution at all. And so I think for those of us living in places like this, it is very easy for us to not really understand this idea of persecution and take it lightly and not understand that God very, very much allows that to happen. In fact, this isn't just something that happened to the early Christians in the first century. Christian persecution is happening today. And I'm going to park here for a little bit and spend some time talking about this because I feel like it's really, really important. I feel very passionately that this is so important for us to understand this. All right. So this is happening today. Do you remember this? Do you remember this event? This was 10 years ago, and 21 Christians were martyred in Libya, and they filmed it. And this was 10 years ago. And so the world heard about this, did make the news. Now, I'm not going to show you that film. Don't look for it. But I'm going to show you a little 2-minute film of Jonathan Roumier. And so that is the actor who plays Jesus in The Chosen. And he is discussing this event. And so I'm going to show you this. It's very, very powerful.
Christians, and I'm really bothered by it. Your family is Arab Christian. Awful lot of Arab Christians get killed in a bunch of different countries all the time, and no one says a word about it.
Christian persecution is something really close to my heart. In fact, I just executive produced an animated short film called The 21, which came out towards the end of February on the 10th anniversary of the martyrdom of the 21 martyrs in Libya. 20 of them were Coptic Christians from Egypt. One of them was non-Christian initially from Ghana, and they just rounded up all these guys. ISIS came and rounded them up, tried to force them to deny their faith. They're just migrant workers. They got rounded up, just captured. ISIS was like, deny your faith and we'll let you go. Don't deny it, we'll kill you. Like, oh, well, we're not going to do that. So, and they tortured them for months. Even the guy from Ghana, ISIS said to him, like, you can go, you're okay, you're not Christian, you're not one of these guys. And he's like, no, their God is my God. And so they say he converted and he died with them. At the end of the day, what people walk away with is that these guys had the opportunity to say, no, I'm not Christian, and then live. But none of them did it. They went to their graves. They wouldn't deny their faith. And so I got a chance to screen this film for the first time with the families of the martyrs 10 years later.
Oh my God.
Which was Word's family, because it was such an overwhelmingly powerful experience to be there with them. When you talk to them, full of joy. More than one of them thanked their captors because they feel, and as Christians we believe this, that because they died for their faith, they got a straight shot right to the divine, right to God. They're like, we thank them because they sent them right to heaven. So the Coptic Church declared them saints. And then very recently, the Catholic Church, it's the first time it's happened, Catholic Church also considered them saints because they died for the faith.
Wow, guys. Powerful stuff. Okay. And this isn't just something that happened 10 years ago. Okay. It is happening today. So these are articles. I'm going to show you several articles here. We're not going to read them. I'm just going to show you the screenshots. From January and February in March of this year. Okay, hundreds of Christians have been rounded up and killed, brutally murdered in the Congo. Okay, here's 3 articles about that. Today, Christians are being rounded up in Syria. They're being massacred. They are crucifying Christians on crosses. Do you know about this? If you are not watching a news source where you're hearing about this, then you need to find a new news source. Okay, this is a big deal. I recommend getting a free account on X, the Twitter. It used to be Twitter, because you will be able to find the real news on Twitter. I don't know if they're talking about this on mainstream news. So yes, hundreds of Christians and other minorities are being rounded up and crucified and tortured and martyred and left dead in the streets. That is happening right now, today. Okay, so why do I feel so strongly about this? Why am I talking about this? Here's another one. Here's why. Here's how this relates to the end times. Okay, so if you follow me, and you've been following my end time series, you know that I don't believe that the Bible clearly talks about a rapture event or that the 7-year tribulation. You know that I don't really hold to that. But a lot of people do, okay? And I could be completely wrong. It could happen exactly the way the premillennialists believe it, okay? And so that's not what the issue I want to talk about right now. But a lot of people believe in this rapture event, okay? And most people who believe in the rapture, they are what is called pre-tribulation. And they believe that Jesus is going to come back and to take them away from this earth before the tribulation. And 100% of the people that I have asked, why do you believe this way? Or I've seen them explaining that. And there maybe some people believe it for different reasons, but the only reason that I have ever seen anybody say, this is why I believe pre-trib, is because, and they all say this, because God would never allow his children to suffer that much. God would never allow his children to go through something so horrible as a tribulation. And I must tell you that that is so wrong. You know, I don't call out people very often here. I try to be very open-minded because there's only one thing we got to believe, and that is in the blood of Jesus Christ. But that belief that God will not allow his children to suffer, that is so wrong. It is so not biblical. How do you think that these Christians who live in these countries where they are currently being rounded up and tortured and martyred, how do you think they would feel about that sentiment? That, oh, God would not let his children suffer. My brothers and sisters, that is not true. God very obviously allows, for only reasons he knows all the details, but he allows his children sometimes to suffer. He allows them sometimes to be martyred for their faith. And it is important we understand that we understand that truth so that we really have a realistic understanding of what our faith means. Because in this country, it's very easy to say you're a Christian. It doesn't require any sort of suffering whatsoever. Okay, you just can join a social club. So, but I will tell you, from the light and momentary affliction that I have suffered, there is nothing that increases your faith more than persecution. And I'm going to explain that in a minute. But I think it's very, very important for us to understand this, because if you have a faith that is so shallow that it means that you believe God would never let you suffer, that is a very, very shallow faith. Okay, and we need to examine our faith. What would you do if you lived in a country where it meant that being a Christian meant that you might be murdered, tortured, and murdered for your faith? That is a very, very important question for us all to ask ourselves.